lesson 4 of module 12 called Find Start and End Times. So I'm on page 339. You can follow along with me. Okay, so our I can statement says I can find the start time or the end time when I know the elapsed time. So lesson 3 was all about finding elapsed time, which is the time that has gone by. And now we're going to be able to find the start time and the end times, and we're given the elapsed time. So we're kind of doing the same thing, but knowing different parts about the whole problem. So I'm super excited. Let's do the step it out. We're skipping the Spark Your Learning and we're skipping the Build Understanding because we did that with lesson 3. We already know what elapsed time is, we know what start time is, we know what end time is, so now we're just practicing. So that's why this lesson is a little bit shorter. Okay, number 1 says, Rita makes a painting of a horse. She starts painting at 1:20 p.m. She spends 48 minutes painting. At what time does she finish painting? So my problem, the first question I ask myself is, what do I need to find? And I need to find what time does she finish painting, and that's what I put in the box. The next question I ask myself is, what information am I going to use? I'm going to use that she starts at 1:20 p.m., which is afternoon, and she spends 48 minutes painting. Okay, so now I know my information, my important information that I need. Part A says, count forward on the number line to add the elapsed time to the start time. Show jumps and the times. So again, like yesterday, I'm using my number line. This time, I don't know where my ending time will be, but I do know that I'll be counting for 48 minutes. So since I'm starting at 1:20, I'm going to count by tens to start out with, because remember how we have to be flexible with our counting. We might start by counting by tens, then we count by fives, and then ones. We have to be able to be flexible. So if I had a 10-minute jump, I'm going to write 10 on the top. What time would I land on? Well, what's 10 minutes after 1:20? Could look at a clock. If this is showing 1:20, 10 minutes would be 5:10, 1:30. So the time I have to label my number line, that 10-minute jump got me to 1:30. Then I'm going to do another 10-minute jump, label it 10 minutes, and that'll get me to 1:40. 1:30, 10 minutes is to 1:40. Then I'm going to do another 10-minute jump, and that brings me to 1:50. Label it. Made my jumps kind of big. I'm going off my number line, so I'm going to extend it. All right, so how many minutes have I counted so far? I have done 10, 20, 30 minutes so far. I have to get to 48. So I'm going to do another 10-minute jump, and that's going to bring me to 2 o'clock. So I'm in a new hour. So I've done 10, 20, 30, 40. I'm trying to get to 48. So now I'm going to do a 5-minute jump, or I could just do an 8-minute jump, but I'm going to do a 5-minute jump. That's going to bring me to 2:05, and then I'll do a 3-minute jump because, let's see, let's label this. So that was 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes, 45. What's the difference between 45 and 48? 3. That's why my last jump is 3. Now, is 5 plus 3 8? Yes. So could I have done an 8-minute jump? Sure. Could I have done 3 1-minute jumps? Sure. It's all about how you want to count it. So, my last time that I landed on was 2:08. Part B, how did you decide what size jumps to make? It's a good question. Well, I decided to count by tens based on the starting time. So yesterday I kind of talked about how I love when the times are at the anchors. If they're at 15, 30, or 45, then I would do 15-minute jumps because that's a quarter of an hour. And I think that's easy to count. This time we started at 120, which is a multiple of 10, and so I decided to count by tens 4 times, and then I did 5 and 3. So write down what you decided on. Maybe you did something different than I did, and so just write about what you did. Part C, at what time do the jumps end? They end at 2:08. So, what time does Rita finish the painting? 2:08. Good job. All right, the turn and talk says, how can you find the end time using a clock? Compare this method to using a number line. Which method do you prefer and why? So this is a good thinker. I kind of used both as I was doing the video because I showed you this clock. If we were to do a clock, we would just have our start time point to 1:20, but then we would still count the same. We would still go, okay, that's 10 minutes, 20, 30, 40, 45, 46, 47, 48. So I still would have been counting by tens and then by fives and then by ones. But instead of writing it horizontally on a number line, I just did it around the clock. Either way is great. What do you prefer? Think about it. All right, next page. Number 2. It takes Mason 35 minutes to make a clay animal. He finishes at 11:45 a.m. At what time did Mason start making the clay animal? Okay, so how is this problem different than the one that we just did? What makes it different is the information that we know. The question we're trying to find is, what time did Mason start making the clay animal? The information I have is that he finishes at 11:45 a.m. So I know the end time. The question before, I knew the start time. So that's what makes this a little bit different. Can I still totally solve it? Of course. I also circled that it takes Mason 35 minutes. That's my elapsed time. So if I were labeling, I'd probably have you guys write, the arrow like we used to do and label it elapsed time. We want to know what each piece of evidence represents. All right, A says count back on the number line from the end time to subtract the elapsed time. Show jumps and the times. Why would it have us jump backwards? Well, they have us jump backwards because I'm starting at the end time, or I know the end time and the elapsed time, and I'm trying to get to the start time. So I'm moving backwards. All right, so he finishes at 11:45 a.m. It's one of my favorite times, one of my anchors. So 11:45 a.m. I am going to do a half-hour jump, which is a 30-minute jump. Why am I doing this? Because 45 and 30 and 15 are all related numbers on a clock. So I want you guys to be familiar with those numbers. When you hear 45, when you hear 15, I want you to think of those other numbers. Just like we talked about with multiplication, every time you hear 24, you think, oh, 2 times 12 or 4 times 6. You know, it's like they're related and you're automatically thinking of those. And so that's another one of those things where you just kind of get in the habit of thinking of it. So this is a big jump. This is a 30-minute jump. But that's okay because if I show on my clock, see 11:45. I'm pointing to the 45. Now I know half an hour is half the clock. So I'm just going whoop right there. So what time did I land on? 11:15. Again, 15, 30, 45, those are all related numbers with the clock. So 11:15. But I don't want just 30 minutes. It takes him 35 minutes. So I need to do another little jump, a 5-minute jump. So there's 30 minutes, 5, that's 35. And then 5 minutes away from 11:15 would be 11:10. So I'm counting backwards. How did you decide what size jumps to make? Okay, so this is where I would write down, since I did a 30-minute jump, I would say, oh, well, the 45 and 15 and 30 are all related numbers. So as soon as I saw that it was 45 a.m. and it was 35 minutes, 35 is really close to 30. So I just did a 30-minute jump and then the remaining 5 minutes. All right, draw hands on the clock to show the start time. At what time did Mason start making the clay animal? So I discovered the start time was 11:10. I'm going to draw my hour hand pointing to the 11. My hour hand is the shorthand. And then my minute hand, the long hand, is going to be pointing towards the 2 because that is 10. 5, 10. What time did Mason start making the clay animal? 11:10 a.m. in the morning. Probably right before lunch. How is finding the start time different from finding the end time? Explain. We kind of talked about that before we started the problem. It's different because we have to count backwards. All right. Let's go through the check understanding. Use the number line to find the start time. The end time, okay, so I'm going to be over on this side of the number line. The end time is 6:31 p.m. The elapsed time is 26 minutes. Okay, so this is one where I'm thinking, gosh, 6:31, 26, those are not very friendly numbers. And so I am going to do a tiny jump of 1 minute. Now, why am I doing it for 1 minute? I'm doing it for 1 minute so that this time we'll say 6:30. Because 6:31 is 1 minute away from 6:30, and 6:30 is a much friendlier number to work with. Now 26 minutes, if I jumped 1 minute, how many more minutes do I have left to jump? Well, 26 minus 1 is 25. So I have 25 minutes left to jump. So much more friendly. So now that I'm at 6:30, I am going to do, 30 is one of my anchors, but is 25 a related number? No. So I'm going to count by tens. So if I do a 10-minute jump, that's going to get me to 6:20. Now I have 15 more minutes to jump. So I'm going to do one more 10-minute jump. That's going to get me to 6:10. See how I'm kind of writing it on the side, just so I have more room. Sometimes it gets a little squishy if the numbers are close. I want to see it very clearly, so I just turned it. All right, so I have jumped for 10, 20. I have 5 more minutes to jump. A 5-minute jump would get me to 6:05. Okay, so 10 plus 10 is 20. 20 plus 5 is 25. 25 plus my 1-minute jump is 26 minutes. So I'll stop there because I did my elapsed time. Started at 6:31, ended at 6:05. And I don't want you to get confused. The start time is 6:05. I just said that I started at 6:31 because that's where I started my jumps. That's not where the elapsed time started. So don't get confused. I know that was a little bit tricky. You might have heard me say that and be like, wait, what? No. So, we're good. Okay. Next page, 341. All right, number 2. It says, Billy starts making a paper bird at 2:28 p.m. He works for 40 minutes. At what time does Billy finish making the paper bird? So I'm trying to find what time does Billy finish making the paper bird. The information I'm going to use is that he starts at 2:28 and he works for 40 minutes. Use the number line to find the end time. Then show the time on the clock. Perfect. All right, so I'm at 2:28 p.m. Now I am going to use 10-minute jumps again because he works for 40 minutes. That's a multiple of 10. So I'm gonna do 10-minute jumps. It's gonna be a little tricky because the start time is 2:28, but I can still add 10 minutes to this time, even though it's a little funky. I'm gonna do a 10-minute jump here. So 2:28 plus 10 minutes, that's just if I were counting, cubes, that would be another group of 10. So how many 10s do I have now? 3. We're mixing a lot of thinking when we work with elapsed time. So I'm really proud of you guys for using all sorts of math skills. We're kind of combining a lot of different skills when we do this. So good job. All right, another 10-minute jump would bring me to 10:48. Another 10-minute jump would bring me to I think I said 10:48, but it's 2:48. Sometimes I say what I'm writing, and so I was writing the 10 minutes, but I was saying 2:48. Just got mixed up. Okay, so that was 3 10-minute jumps. That's 30 minutes. So I need to do one more 10-minute jump. Now, things are about to get tricky, and I'll tell you why. Let's look at the clock. Right now, I have done 3 10-minute jumps. That's 30 minutes. I need to jump for 40 minutes. So I have one more jump to go. I am at 2:58. Gosh, look how close that is to the next hour. I have 2 minutes left until the next hour. So if I do a 10-minute jump, am I gonna be in the 2 o'clock hour? Is it gonna be 2:68? No, 60s do not exist in time. Okay, we stop at 59 and then we reset at 0. So I'm gonna break this up into numbers that add up to 10. I'm gonna use the add-ins 2 and 8. The reason I'm using 2 is because I'm 2 minutes away from the next hour. So So I'm gonna do a little bump for 2 minutes. That's gonna bring me, I'm gonna write it on the side, to 3 o'clock. Then my other add end is 8. So I'm gonna do an 8-minute jump, and that's gonna bring me to 3:08. Okay, so that is my end time. So gosh, when we change over to the next hour, things can get really complicated. We might get mixed up. We might say 2:68. We might say 2:08. We might get a little mixed up. So it's important that we catch ourselves and we recognize, oh snap, this is tricky, and so I'm gonna like really stop and think about this. So as you can see, instead of doing my last jump of 10 minutes, I busted it up into a jump of 2 minutes and a jump of 8 minutes. Why did I do that? To make it easier for myself. That's what I do in my head when I'm counting for times. I break up the numbers so that it's easier for me to think about and manage. So from 2:58 to the next hour is 2 minutes. So then I have 8 minutes left of my 40 minutes elapsed time. So what time does Billy finish making the paper bird? 3:08 p.m. I'm going to draw it on the clock. My hour hand, the shorthand, is pointing to 3. And then I am 2 away from 10. So I'm pointing with the long hand 2 minutes away from the big 2. Okay, feeling good? All right. Number 3 says find the start time. The end time is 9:28 a.m. The elapsed time is 38. So this is one where I know my end time. I'm counting backwards. Use the number line to find the time. Okay. So now here I'm going to use again I'm going to use the numbers in a way that is helpful to me. If the end time is 9:28 and the elapsed time is 38 minutes, my first jump, right off the bat before I start, I know that I'm going to be switching hours because I'm only at 20 minutes into the hour of 9 o'clock, and my elapsed time is 38. Is 38 more than 20? Yes, so already I know that I'm going to be switching hours. So to make it easier for myself, my first jump is going to be 20 minutes because that's going to bring me to 9 o'clock. Okay, you following? So the difference between 38 and 20 is 18, so I have 18 more minutes to count. I'm going to split that into a jump of 10 minutes, and that's going to get me to 8:50. I'm switching hours. And then I'm going to do a jump of 8, and that's going to get me 20 plus 10 is 30. 30 plus 8 is my 38 minutes of elapsed time. So my 8-minute jump is going to bring me to 8:42. And I can think about this as 50 minus 8 is 42. It's kind of like regrouping. When we're switching hours, we're kind of like turning the minutes into an hour. So that's kind of fun to think about. It's just like regrouping. All right, so the start time is 8:42 a.m. Remember your units, whether it's a.m. or p.m. All right, number 4, find the end time. Start time is 1:45 p.m. The elapsed time is 18 minutes. I'm super excited. Can you guess why? It's 45, one of my favorite times. And is 18 really close to 15? Yeah, it is. So I am stoked. I'm going to do a 15-minute jump because 18 is close to 15. 15 minutes is going to get me to the next hour. I'm at 1:45. A 15-minute jump is going to get me right on the hour of 2 o'clock. Now, what's the difference between 15 and 18? 3 minutes. So I'm going to do a 3-minute jump, and that's going to get me to 2:03. So the end time is 2:03 p.m. Okay. Use a number line to find the time. So this one, you're going to make your own number line. The start time is 6:15 a.m. and the elapsed time is 25 minutes. I'll bet you guys could do this one in your head. Okay? You know I'm excited because it's 6:15. That's one of my anchors. 25 is not a friendly number, but it's 10 away from a friendly number. So I'm going to bust this up into 15 plus 10. Okay? I'm doing this in my head. So you try it too. 6:15, elapsed time is 25 minutes. I just split it into 15 plus 10 because 15 plus 10 is 25, and 15 is a friendly number for time. So 6:15, 15 minutes is going to get me to 6:30, and then I just add my remaining 10 minutes, and I'm at 6:40 a.m. See how I did that? So, like I said, move the numbers around to make it easier for you. Use the number line, use a clock, draw it out if you need to, and then just count on. I bet, I should send this out. I should find like a big picture of a clock and like send it out so you guys can use that as a tool. It won't be something like this where you could move the minute hand and hour hand, but you would still have a point of reference. But you probably have something already at home that you're using, so. Okay. Let's do the next part of this table. I don't know the start time. The elapsed time is 42 minutes, and the end time is 9:46. Or excuse me, 9:56. So I'm going to draw my number line as neat as I can. My end time is 9:56. Gosh, right away I'm thinking, yuck, those are not friendly numbers. 48 and 56. Ooh. So for me, it's easier to get the elapsed time to a friendly number. So that's what I'm going to do. To get 42 to a friendly number, I'm going to do a jump of 2 minutes. And that's going to get me to 9:54. Now I have 40 minutes left to count because 42 minus 2 is 40. And that's a multiple of 10, so now I can count by tens. 10 will get me to 9:44. I'm kind of like subtracting. Another 10-minute jump will get me to 9:34. Label it. Another 10-minute jump will get me to 9:24. And my last 10-minute jump is going to get me to 9:14. So the start time was 9:14 p.m. All right, feeling good? My last one, 4:14 p.m. The elapsed time is 12 minutes. Okay, this is another one I can do in my head, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. 4:14 is a small part of the hour. 4:14 would be like right there. And 12 minutes, is that a lot of time that has passed? No, it's not a lot of time that has passed. So, am I going to make it all the way around to the next hour? No, I can use my common sense and I can say 12 minutes is not going to take me from 4:14 all the way around to the next hour. So do you remember a couple videos ago where I said you could kind of treat it like an addition problem, only if you know that it's not going to take you into the next hour. So you kind of have to, the more you practice it and the more familiar you are with time, the better you'll be at using your best judgment for things like this. So I'm going to treat it like an addition problem, and I'm going to say 4:14, 14 plus 12 minutes is 26. So my end time is 4:26 p.m. Okay, does that make sense? I could, of course, still draw a number line and count it out if I wanted to. But I could also, use logic and say, okay, I know I'm not going to go into the next hour. I can totally do that in my head. All right, next one, I'm on page 342. Number 6, it says, write and solve a word problem that describes the end time of an activity with a start time that is 5:10 p.m. and an elapsed time of 45 minutes. Okay, so this is a fun one. I'll just tell you what it is without writing it down. Okay, when I do questions like this where it wants you to write your own problem, I want to be reasonable. So 5:10 p.m. Well, that is in the evening time. Am I going to be eating breakfast? No. Am I going to be at school? Well, sometimes I am because I'm a teacher, but you guys definitely aren't. So anyways, you just want to be reasonable. So think about what you're doing at 5:10 p.m. 5:10 p.m. I'm probably making dinner. So my word problem would say, Miss Lowenquist is making dinner. She starts at 5:10 p.m. It takes her 45 minutes to make dinner. At what time is dinner ready? Okay, so that would be a problem. And then it says to solve it. So we'll do that now. Starts at 5:10 p.m. I'm excited because 45, that's a friendly number. But my starting time isn't really friendly. But can I also use logic and say, okay, 10 plus 45, that's 55. So is that going to bring me to the next hour? No. But I'm still going to count by tens just because it's good practice. So 5:10, a jump of 10 minutes would bring me to 5:20. Another jump of 10 would bring me to, did I say a jump of 5? I meant a jump of 10. A jump of 10, another jump of 10 would bring me to 5:30. Another jump of 10 would bring me to 5:40. One more jump of 10, and I know it's one more because 10, 20, 30, 40 would bring me to 5:50. And then a little 5-minute jump would bring me to 5:55. So what time is dinner ready? Dinner was ready at 5:55 p.m. Yay! All right. Now it says draw hands on the clock to show the time. Write the start or the end time. All right, number 7 wants us to show the start time. The end time is 6:25. The elapsed time is 50 minutes. Whoa, okay, so I'm hearing this and I'm thinking, okay, am I going to be changing hours? The answer is yes, I definitely am. Okay, so I am going to draw the end time, 6:25, just so I can kind of get my bearings. The shorthand is pointing to the 6, maybe it's halfway towards the 7. And the minute hand is pointing towards the 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. That's my end time. Now I'm counting backwards until I get to 50. And I'm going to count by 5s because 25 is a multiple of 5, 50 is a multiple of 5. So that will be real easy for me to count along the clock until I get to 50 minutes. So here I am. I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay, notice how I'm going around the clock counterclockwise. When I go the opposite direction, the wrong direction of the clock, that's called counterclockwise. And I'm doing that because I'm trying to find the start time. So remember on the number line, I started over here and went backwards. Same with the clock. I go to the end time. I start at the end time, that's what gets so mixed up. I start at the end time and I go backwards around the clock. 35, 40, 45, 50. Okay, so that was 50 minutes around. So I know I'm going to be in the opposite hour. Not the opposite hour, but just the hour before because I went backwards. So this minute is 35. And the hour before was 5, the hour was 5:35. Okay, number 8, show the end time. The start time is 8:30. The elapsed time is 44 minutes. So again, I'm going to start, I know it says to draw hands. Oh, we're fine, because it says draw hands on the clock. So yeah, we're okay. So the start time is 8:30. So my hour hand is going to be in between the 8 and the 9. And the minute hand is going to be pointing straight down to the 6. The elapsed time is 44 minutes. So I'm going to count by, if this was a number line, I would use my friendly numbers because I see 30 and 44 is really, really close to 45. So that's what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to jump 30 minutes. Whoop, I'm going to go to the other side of the clock. Now, what time is it? It's 9 o'clock. So that was 30 minutes. Then I'm going to do 35, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. Okay, see what I did? Rewind, watch it again if you need to. I did a 30-minute jump, 35, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. So my end time is 9:14. Oh, I forgot my units. This is PM over here on number 7, and this is AM on number 8. All right. Number 9, Trish and Lana draw portraits. Trish starts at 4:15 p.m. and finishes at 4:40 p.m. Lana finishes at 4:55 p.m. She draws for the same amount of time as Trish. At what time does Lana start drawing? Okay, whoa, lots going on here. So this is one where I especially need to take my notes. What do I need to find? Okay, all I need to find is what time does Lana start drawing. That's it. That's all I need to know. Or all I need to find. What do I need to know? Well, I need to know that Lana finishes at 4:55 p.m. I also need to know how long she draws for. This is a two-step problem. I need to know first, how long does Trish draw for? Now, the only thing I know about that is that she draws for the same amount of time as Trish. So I go back to Trish, and she says, okay, she starts at 4:15, finishes at 4:40 p.m. So before I can even figure out how long Lana is drawing for, before I even figure out what time Lana starts drawing, I have to figure out how long Trish is drawing, because they are drawing for the same amount of time. They're just starting and ending at different times. So, two-step problem. First, I have to find out how long Trish is drawing. The starting point is 4:15. The ending point is 4:40 p.m. So, I need to count Right away, I'm excited. We've got a 15, so I'm going to do a 15-minute jump to 4:30. Now, I know that it's going to be 15 minutes because I know that from 4:15 to 4:30 is 15 minutes. I know I'm not going past my end time. Does that make sense? Because I'm familiar with these numbers. So now I need to figure out, okay, how much time, this is where I don't know. How much time has passed from 4:30 to 4:40? Well, what's the difference between 4:30 and 4:40? 10 minutes. So that's 10 minutes there. So I add 15 minutes and 10 minutes, and Trish is drawing for 25 minutes. Why does that matter? My question says, what time does Lana start drawing? Why did I just find out how long Trish was drawing for? Well, I had to find that out because she draws for the same amount of time as Lana. Trish draws for the same amount of time as Lana. So I had to find this out first. Now that I know it, I can go back to Lana. Lana finishes at 4:55 p.m. What time does she start? So I'm going to draw my number line. 4:55 p.m., 25 minutes of drawing. So I am going to count by fives backwards because I'm trying to find the start time. So 4:55, 5-minute jump would get me to 4:50. Another 5-minute jump would get me to 4:45. Another 5-minute jump would get me to 4:40. Another 5-minute jump would get me to 5:35. 4:35, so sorry. And one last 5-minute jump would bring me to 4:30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes of drawing. What time does she start? Well, I landed on 4:30. So Lana starts drawing at 4:30 p.m. Two-step problem. Those are tricky, but we've done two-step problems a lot. You have to find that little piece of information. Remember, we're looking for what's vague, and that usually gives us a clue as to what we have to figure out. All right, you guys. I hope you had fun during this lesson. I hope it went well for you. I hope you're understanding it, and I hope your homework assignment goes great. I love your guts, and I'll see you later.